You know, what you're seeing here is exactly what I told you was going to happen, chums. Oh, absolutely. Very slowly, what this particular individual is doing is eroding the past. Everything that you thought you knew and everything that you're supposed to know about this particular individual is now all moving away. And bit by bit, she often does this. She'll sit down with the next victim, and basically, the victim is not allowed to ask any questions about previous failures, relationships, all of that sort of stuff. And this is truly where we're now at. You know, this is Prince Harry being slowly eradicated from that relationship, whether you want to believe it or not. As ever, let me explain. Morning, nice to see you. Welcome back, one and all. And of course, welcome to brand new subscribers. You know, it's often been said, isn't it, that, you know, people like Meghan, not very good actress. I disagree on that. You know, she's very good at perpetuating the myth of, well, this is where I'm at now, and this is what you're going to believe. She recently sat down once again with someone from a business magazine, Fortune. And the thing with this particular magazine is, you know, it's not all it seems. Let me just tell you this from the off, because we haven't had a wave, have we? Nice to see you. Sorry. Welcome back, one and all, as I say. Here's where this is interesting, you see, because, you know, people say, well, why do people invite her onto these events? Well, I would say that Meghan has paid her way onto this event. You become a member, and if you are a member and you offer enough, you get invited onto the platform. Now, how do you know this? Well, it's quite simple, you see. Actually, Fortune have not paid for this particular interview. So by that, there is no transportation, no expenses, no makeup artist, no hotel. It's very easy to look into the background. So Meghan, or indeed Meghan's company, as ever, whatever she brands herself in now, that would have been lost in the business. And remember, as the first year of business, it's very taxable. You're putting yourself out there, you're getting talked about, and consequently you're getting your story over. And Meghan's story changes time and time again. You know, she reiterated the point, if you didn't know this, that, you know, she had an 80-man team on as ever. Again, fickle lies. I mean, there was never an 80-man team in that house. There's an 80 people, you know, sort of team spread over the entire projection period of that. And that will be colorists, editors, you know, sound vision, add-on, that sort of stuff, musicality, researchers. There's a lot of people working on something that is very simplistic that I would say, you know, many content creators do it a lot better for, you know, minimal of the cost. But, you know, Meghan likes the diviness around her. And as she pointed out in the interview with Fortune, the last time that she had such a big crew was when she was on Suits. The last time she had a big crew. Never ever once mentioning the cast, you know, the team, the people around her. It's always me, my crew, my team. And then she goes on to point out to you, which is again really revealing if you didn't know this, that, you know, she now has a leaner team, just the people around her. That's because Netflix are not paying for social media. She can't get the right social media people because, a little bit like Fergie, Sarah Ferguson, they don't want to pay, you know. And what they tried to do, which is really interesting, and according to an excellent source, again, I have to say allegedly, you know, influencers were asked to put ideas forward, which they were rather reticent to do. And this basically is, you put your idea forward and then they cherry pick the ones that they like. Suddenly you've never put them through. You see this time and time again. If you work in this industry, whether it's pitching a program, sending a hit record to someone, they take the best bits, suddenly it's theirs. You know, the sort of thing. Meghan is very, very good at this. Now, where does this leave Prince Harry? Well, if Harry was unsure about his place in the world of Meghan Markle, she's very much putting it out there that, you know, she's independent, she's individual, and it's all about her. Now, we already know that. But the sort of pivotal bits in this are fascinating in itself, because on this particular interview, Meghan goes on to talk about how she set up the business. But there is no business, you know. I mean, she couldn't get a CEO. There's no real staff. It's just people and management people around her, publicists, that sort of stuff. Now, the telling points also is the fact that Meghan admits she can't bear to see negative comments about herself or a product on the comment section on Instagram. You can't grow a business, particularly if you're selling jams, pots, crepes, whatever, wine, if you don't look at the comments, because it's what you know, they tell you what you like. And also interesting to note that, you know, Meghan clearly feels that being the Duchess of Sussex is enough to sell the brand. I've mentioned many times before, chums, about the international pop star Kylie Minogue. Well, Kylie's wine is sold over here in the United Kingdom in a thing called Home Bargains for $5.99 because she knows that's where the masses go. But Meghan, if you remember, states in this particular interview also that she wasn't really keen to team up with any big sort of department stores at the moment, you know, big retail chains. That's, again, because as I told you first, nobody wanted to team up. If people wanted the brand, the likes of Harrods, Fortnum & Masons, Waitrose, etc. would have made inroads and said, we'd like to get involved, what can we invest in? But nothing happened, you know, because they looked at the results of the sales and they looked at the results of the ratings of the show. Now, also behind the scenes, this bit is fascinating. Meghan had those questions over a week and a half from that particular journalist, right? So she had a chance to know when to pause, when to put a hand up. That's an interesting question. She always uses that while she's stalling to remember that. The reason why the host is holding those questions is that she can't deviate away from the question. You see, even if Meghan goes down a different tunnel and talks about something, she has to remain on that because that's what Meghan would have learned, right? A little bit like Jamie Kern Lima. You watch them all, they're all holding cards because, you know, she can't go off the plot. Now, again, forget that bit. Also, you've got this. Never at any point, and remember this is about entrepreneurial businessmanship and all that sort of stuff, that this particular host was offered the opportunity to talk about sales figures. Was she disappointed in the initial run? What are her plans to up it for the second run? Zero, nothing. Again, you're not allowed to talk about figures because that represents failure. Netflix, no, this is a failure. You know, I don't mean to be this unkind, but it's not a success. If it was a success, they'd be pumping the repeats back out. They'd be putting sound bites across all of their branding. There is nothing. So Meghan now telling you that she's going to be making smaller, you know, sort of boutique size things and maybe looking down a different avenue tells you this. And this is the 100% telling point of what's gone on. And I told you this a long time ago. Netflix are done, right? Ted Sarandos has been sweet and kind, but they're done. The fact that she's putting out her Christmas special in November tells you everything. They're not investing in this. This is a month down the line, and so consequently there's going to be no huge billboards with Meghan's Christmas. And she's already given it away how dull it's going to be because she's talking about showing different things about gift wrapping. Riveting. I mean, are there not enough craft and create sort of channels around the world that you could do this anyway? So you've paid millions of dollars to a fake royal duchess to have a conversation about gift wrapping that you did many years ago, and many other things that do not relate very well to Meghan's backstory. She talks a lot about the calligraphy and the writing of invitations to wedding cards and stuff like that. And this is not that far away from her previous life. Nobody has ever come forward to say, I hired her. Yes, she was great at this. Somebody would have some proof of that somewhere. Nothing to be seen. You see how this works. So where does Harry fit in this? Well, he doesn't. And this is the thing. Harry's now a liability, you see, because what's happened with Harry over in London, particularly to the team, is that he's proven to be very popular. Once again, he came back with more warmer, easier press to deal with. Meghan's press is just relentlessly bad, from her lying about, you know, being invited to the Valencia fashion thing. Whether she called him or not, she should have come out from the off and even filmed that phone call, filmed that text and said, you know, I like his stuff so much, I want to go and present him. The team around Meghan, I would say, are not her friends, right? They are people that are simply paid who dare not speak unless she says, this is a good idea, this is the real remit of what I want to do. And there lies your bigger problem again. From this particular interview with Fortune magazine, which should have been spectacular in many respects, what we've actually found is the fact that there are no ideas, she's got no idea where she's going, and as I told you originally, Meghan is now trying to pivot into the world of fashion. She's now copied the entire look of Victoria Beckham, even down to the Instagram reel, putting her makeup on and holding the lipstick. There are no original ideas. I told you the other day, the reason why she sat down with the new editor of US Vogue is to try and unnerve Victoria. Victoria is very successful. Meghan wants to be that successful. unnerve her and say, I'm coming for your brand, makes, of course, everybody look around. On the week that should have been Victoria Beckham's glorious week, of which it was because her programme is a success, Meghan did everything in her power to derail that, from everything from the Paris fashion show to the thing with New York to the award. She tried her very best to shift it, right? No respect for womanhood whatsoever, in my opinion. Now, Prince Harry, right, you get this headline, you see this? And this is apparently a headline where he was upset and dismayed at the criticism that his wife faced over the Instagram reel, if you remember that. And this was where she was careering through Paris, allegedly going through the same tunnel as the late, beautiful Diana, Princess of Wales. Now, I can tell you 100% that did not come from him. He has no idea about this. All that sort of PR stuff just comes out from those people. And unless Harry comes out in a conversation, of which he no doubt at some point will be forced to, in order to back her up, a little bit like the Sophie Chanduka stuff, where, you know, he wanted her to apologise. Harry now will have to go in the front of the camera and say that he 100% supported his wife and that entire Paris trip. That's going to be very difficult. But back to this, has it been a success? Well, in Meghan's eyes, yes. You know, once again, she's been allowed to talk about herself for a long period of time. But what you have to take away from this is the next move in 2026 is that Meghan has been approached about moving into fashion and beauty because people were surprised. And if you do remember, you know, the whole stories of this is where, for me, you can just see the shallow holes through the story. Right at the beginning of when Meghan and Harry signed with Netflix and they did their documentary, Meghan in the Variety piece said, I've not really seen it, you know. Liz Garbus, our director, put it all together. And it's through her lens. I just hope that our story, you know, through her lens, basically shifting the blame once again. The blame for the failure as ever will be Netflix. They will be lumbered with this blame. They know it, she knows it, it's just simply a matter of time. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.